Hey kiddies, it's Triple Feature Tuesday once again, and this week we are going to look at the horror movie moms that went above and beyond the call of duty.
Mother, tell your children not to.
Yeah, I said duty. Mother's Day is approaching us, so if nothing else, use this as your final warning before Mother's Day is here and you've forgotten and not gotten your mother something nice, because Jesus, what is wrong with you? She's given you so much and you're not giving her anything. Much like with just about any other holiday or special occasion, I celebrate it with horror movies. I'm sort of like the hallmark of horror movies. There's a horror movie for every occasion: Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. You give me a holiday, and I'll find you a horror movie for it. Last year, I looked at horror movies where the bad guy of the film was a very, very scary, disturbing mother. And this year, I thought I'd do the opposite. Let's look at the moms that went for it, that put everything, but put their families and everything else ahead of their own safety, and took care of business. So in order of increasing risk to oneself, we look at Child's Play, Cujo, and Poltergeist. Now Child's Play is a lot of Child's Play is just a good time. I mean, normally I really don't go for like the little doll or miniature objects going around killing people, despite the fact that I own several Puppet Master movies. It was sort of the shame of Charles Band and Full Moon Pictures that everything now is just a tiny little thing going after something else, but that's been a mainstay in all of his movies. Anyway, what made this one better was Brad Dourif. Brad Dourif's just completely malicious, evil voice as Chucky sold the whole thing for me. But a character that doesn't get enough credit is Mrs. Barkley. I think it's Karen Barkley, played by Catherine Hicks, who nerds will remember from Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home as the girl of the movie that Kirk gets the hots for, the whale woman. And normal people probably remember her more recently from Seventh Heaven, but she's been around forever and she's wonderful. Now Karen Barkley, struggling single mom, puts Andy before everything. She is so good. She takes extra shifts so she can afford stuff for him. She goes into a seedy back alley, and I want to say the Child's Play movies are set in Chicago, or New York. It's either New York or Chicago. I know they have an L. She goes into a seedy back alley and haggles with a sketchy homeless person to buy the beloved doll for her son, Andy. And then when it turns out to be a homicidal maniac, she goes above and beyond to try to prove that the doll is in fact a homicidal maniac and her son is not crazy. She perpetually goes into danger to protect her son. She goes to the ghetto where Charles Lee Ray's last known associates are holed up, and tries to find some sort of answers as to why there's an actual doll attacking people and making it look like her son is killing them. And then she just perpetually is going after the doll. And she's very single-minded. And you watch her argue with Chris Sarandon's cop character to try to, advocate for her son. And it's really heartwarming. And it's part of what makes the movie really good in terms of it's not just a one-note gimmick. There are, fairly well-developed characters that are trying to get the thing done. And one of them is Karen Barkley, played by Catherine Hicks. Oh, and it should be noted that she's not in terribly a lot of physical danger. That's part of that's one of the factors here, is that she's not at risk herself through most of the movie. It's her investigating and trying to protect her son that gets her put in danger with Chucky, as opposed to in Cujo, based on the Stephen King novel of the same name. I think it's in real life, it was the first movie set in Castle Rock, but in Castle Rock chronology, I think it's the third one. I think Stand By Me, Based on the Body, The Dead Zone, and then Cujo, because the police officer, or the sheriff in Cujo, is supposed to be Sheriff Bannerman, Tom Skerritt's character from The Dead Zone that gets killed. In this one, paving the way for Alan Pangborn, in The Dark Half and Needful Things, played by Michael Rooker and Ed Harris, which is completely superfluous to this triple feature. It's just I'm really fascinated with Castle Rock. Anyway, Dee Wallace Stone, just horror movie goddess, just wonderful. Love Dee Wallace. We've seen her in The Howling, E.T., The Frighteners. She's got a little cameo in House of the Dead. She's in the Rob Zombie Halloween. She is just Dee Wallace. She plays Donna Trenton, who has been having an extramarital affair in the film, but ironically, the man she's having an affair with, it was her real-life husband, Chris Stone. They did a few movies together. Don't worry, that triple feature will happen at some point in the near future. Or no, she's going to get her car fixed at a guy that fixes cars. Unfortunately, the man's dog, Cujo, which was apparently a nice thing to call a dog before Cujo came out, sort of like, clowns were nice before it. Also Stephen King. God damn you, Stephen King. How many things have you ruined for people? So Cujo was chasing a rabbit and chased the rabbit into the rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole was actually a bat cave, and a rabid bat bit Cujo, and now Cujo is a gigantic rabid Saint Bernard. Cut to Dee Wallace and her son Tad, played by a very young Danny Pintaro of Who's the Boss fame. They get trapped in their car for about 2, maybe 3 days while this dog is basically trying to break into the car and murder them, and just rend them limb from limb. Now, the thing is, as compared to Karen Barkley in Child's Play, Donna Trenton is in the same boat as her son. So saving her son is just about the same as saving herself. They both have to get away from this dog. What puts her above Catherine Hicks, Karen Barkley's character, is she doesn't murder the kid. I wanted to kill this kid. Don't get me wrong. I understand. He's like 4, maybe 5. He's a child. But God, you're running on like no sleep, no food, dehydrated, hot, stuffy in a car. You can barely even open the windows without the dog getting there. And this kid won't stop crying and whining and screaming at the top of his lungs because he's a 5-year-old. Man, she doesn't do it. She puts him first and makes sure that she gets him out. Unfortunately, I think the kid dies in the book. Maybe it's sort of open-ended. He's having respiratory problems by the end of the film, mainly because they're stuffed in this car and it's basically a hot box. But she doesn't kill the kid, and that's why I give her credit as a really great horror movie mom, because she's perpetually trying to cheer him up and calm him down, and finds the strength to not murder him, even though she's been bit by a dog and just everything is going horrible. Dee Wallace, love her so much. Finally, we have Poltergeist, which is still one of the scariest goddamn movies ever. Nice neighborhood built on the remains of a cemetery. Specifically the bodies that are still in the ground that were never moved, and that kind of pissed them all off. And they've decided to take everything out on this poor family with Craig T. Nelson and our mom of the movie, Jo Beth Williams. Now, I know Tumblr blog House of Sushi is going to be disappointed in me, but my Jo Beth Williams knowledge does not go nearly as far as his or her obsession with Jo Beth Williams, which is completely fair. She's lovely. But other than the Big Chill and Dutch, Poltergeist is the only thing I know her from. But Poltergeist. So at the end of the movie, spoilers for a movie that's 30 years old, when we're trying to get Carol Ann back, Jo Beth Williams has been working to keep this family together and, not going over the deep end throughout this whole movie, and she's been doing a damn fine job of it, because they haven't. They're strung out and they're really raw, but they're still together. They're still a family, and they're still dedicated to getting Carol Ann back. So when Zelda Rubinstein has the plan to get Carol Ann back, it involves going into some sort of nether realm to go grab Carol Ann and get her away from all the ghosts that, just want to eat her or do whatever. And Jo Beth Williams goes for it. She goes into a glowing ball of God knows what like the ultimate risk to go in there, because it's one of those things. This is beyond just, oh, you'll die. This is, okay, at like minimum you're gonna be dead, and you're gonna be with crazy ghosts for all of eternity. It's, oh my god, Poltergeist is so scary. But she does it, and she succeeds, and she has victory. And then things keep going worse and worse and worse, because the movie, like, it doesn't want to end, because the ghosts don't want to let anybody go. And so she has to deal with, the giant face coming out of the door, and then falling into the would-be backyard in-ground pool that is now just a corpse mosh pit. It's just, or it's just a skeleton mosh pit. It's just revolting. But she comes through it pretty much solid at the end of it, because this is what mom is for on Mother's Day. And I can attest that my mom is pretty goddamn awesome and has gotten us through lots of horrible things. But she's never had to deal with horror movie level craziness, and nor should she. That's absurd. But if you have nothing else to do with your Mother's Day, you should watch these movies with these really great moms. Child's Play, Cujo, and Poltergeist. And I will see you guys next week.